Happy Wednesday, everyone. Welcome to the Odyssey. I am Mike Odyssey. I am so happy to be back with you guys after a very short, little vacation here. Not because I wanted to, but because I'm moving houses. And of course, I have a temporary studio now, but I'm back here. Let's go ahead and go over the Super Mario Brothers Wonder Battle Park review. We'll go over that, but then also later on in the video, I want to talk a little bit about the Nintendo Switch 2 sales, right? And why it's not a bad thing that they are dropping how many systems they are going to make from, I think, 6 million to 4 million. We're going to go ahead and go over that with a little bit of support to back it up. If you are new here, I want to say thank you so much for being here. You have everywhere else to be, but you're here, and I'm so grateful for you. If you would consider hitting that subscribe button, make sure to click that bell for notifications. We are at 57,000 subscribers a couple of days ago, but of course YouTube did its thing and removed about 10 to 20. So we are about 10 to 20 short. If you subscribe now, you can be the one that hit 57,000 subscribers on the channel. Thank you so much for your support. Let's go ahead and get into the Mario review. All right, so right now reviews are in for Super Mario Wonder Nintendo Switch 2 Edition Battle Park, right? This is when Nintendo gives us a little bit of extra content and calls it a Nintendo Switch 2 edition of a game, right? We have plenty of those in the short life of the Nintendo Switch. And so today we got the reviews for this Battle Park Edition. Let's go ahead and go over the reviews here. I am being very creative with my editing, as you can see, because I guess my resources are short, but I am going to make content with you guys and for you guys no matter what. So here we have Stealth on X. Put this little list together here. Thank you so much, Stealth. We have here the reviews for the Battle Park Edition to Super Mario Bros. Wonder. We got Player 2 giving it a 10. Metroid, giving it a 10. Game Surf 9.5. And everywhere from the top, I would say 8 reviewers gave it a 9 and up. Then we got 8.5s all the way down to the last review at 7.5, which is not bad at all. You know, these are higher reviews than I was expecting because it is a DLC. It's not a full game. Yes, there's extra content, but it's still an edition, and it's a Switch 2 edition, right? So Nintendo is trying to convince you that if you have not purchased this game yet, you want to purchase this game on Switch 2 for $70. If you already own it, then you can just buy the $20 extension on Nintendo Switch 2. But so far, so good. The reviews are in. They look pretty decent. They don't look bad at all. And I just want to remind you guys, hey, the review that matters is your own. That's why when I do review this game, I want to start a review series where I include you. Okay, so right before I release a review, I am going to put a post on the community area with the review scores that you will give the game, and that way I will review my game once you provide me your input, and I will include it in that score. It will create an Odyssey score. The Odyssey score is my review plus your review score, and we'll do that here. So subscribe for that if you want to be a part of this little project that I have going when it comes to a new review score that I want to provide here on the channel. Now I want to get into the next piece of news for the channel, which has to do with the sales for the Nintendo Switch 2 and the news that Nintendo might be dropping how many units they will be making in the next quarter. Before we get into that, I want to go ahead and let you guys know that I was invited by Universal to preview the Super Mario Brothers Galaxy movie, and I cannot wait to talk to you guys about it. So make sure to subscribe and stay tuned for that review. All right, let's get into it. All right, so let's get into the meat and potatoes of this video. It's a report on Nintendo to cut production on Nintendo Switch 2 units, right? And so this comes to us. I'm reading on my Nintendo news, but the source is Bloomberg. Before that, I have to remind you, Bloomberg was also the source for the Nintendo Switch Pro rumors back in the day. So I just want to put that in there because it's important for us to kind of remember that. That was a fiasco. Bloomberg was the source for the Nintendo Switch Pro unit, okay? And so Nintendo to cut Switch 2 production to 4 million this quarter on weaker U.S. sales, okay? Let's see here. It says Bloomberg is reporting that Nintendo has decided to cut Nintendo Switch 2 production down to 4 million The Kyoto-based company was previously targeting 6 million units in production this quarter, but weaker than expected sales in the United States has seemingly made them consider this. All right, Nintendo has not yet officially confirmed this, which is important, but Bloomberg has been told by their sources that it will plan to announce it soon. I'm guessing in a future financial meeting. Now, let me tell you why this is not bad news, and it's not as bad as some people pointed. No, let me go ahead and respond to a lot of headlines. No, Nintendo Switch 2 is not flopping. No, Nintendo Switch 2 is not over. No, Nintendo Switch 2 is not a failure. No, Nintendo is not losing money, okay? This is just what they do. This is something that is being done in the future, not right now, okay? So what they did was they forecasted. This is something that they have. They're analyzing how many Nintendo Switch 2 units they can sell, right? And so they set a target. That is something that is set. It's not that it's going to happen. That's their goal, okay? Then, based on current conditions, on how they see things going, they can go ahead and adjust that goal. Even at the beginning of the Nintendo Switch 2 life, they forecasted an amount of units, and they went ahead and adjusted it up, right? And so they sold more than they were anticipated. And this time around, and this is the most likely scenario for every company, they always project a little more, right, to give themselves a little headroom, and then they adjust according to how sales currently are. And this is what Nintendo was doing. They projected 6 million units and only brought it down to 4 million. It's not that like they said, hey, we projected 6 million, but we have to bring it down to 2 million because, man, sales are horrible. No, they projected 6 and brought it down to 4 million units. Why? So that they continue to be profitable. And this is just something that every company does. Now, the question is Nintendo Switch 2 still a successful company? I want to go ahead and then show you guys this right here by Kid Ellis, okay? Kid Ellis shared this on X, and this is one of the best explanations out there on how Nintendo works internally when it comes to their expectations, okay? Kid Ellis is a former Nintendo employee. He had the inside and out. He is part of Kid and Krista. And he says here, the problem with saying Nintendo Switch 2 sales aren't meeting Nintendo's expectations is that Nintendo's expectations are often impossibly high. I remember many times we would get excited that we set a sales record and then turn around to be told we failed to meet our goal. This is just insane, right? So when Nintendo is really adjusting their expectations and sales, it doesn't mean that they're actually not still breaking records, right? They're still breaking records, but they're just adjusting their expectations. You heard it from Chris Ellis here that when they started celebrating that they broke records, they were told then by Nintendo that they failed to meet their goal, which is crazy, you know? And so here we have another news that basically confirms that. Nintendo Switch 2 remains second fastest selling hardware in tracked history. So it's still the fastest selling system in tracked history. What Nintendo did with the forecasting of instead of 6 million to 4 million is not affecting the sales of the Nintendo Switch 2 currently. We are still breaking records. And I'm not talking to you as a Nintendo chill. I'm not talking to you as a Nintendo simp. I'm talking to you with numbers. I'm talking to you with information. I'm talking to you with facts, because that's how I love to talk, right? Yes, I love Nintendo. Would I want them to fail? No. But I always have to report accurately, and I have to tell you what actually is happening, whether good or bad, right? And so I'm just showing you Nintendo Switch 2 remains second fastest selling hardware in tracked history. This is as of March 24th, 2026. Let's go ahead and read here. It says Matt Pescatella from US video game sales tracker in Circana has stated once again that the Nintendo Switch 2 remains the second fastest selling video game hardware in the United States. We know sales weren't hitting internal expectations in the all important running up Christmas shopping season, but sales have clearly been strong regardless. The fastest selling hardware in tracked US history remains to be the Game Boy Advance. There we have it. Basically, confirming that the Nintendo Switch 2 is still strong, selling well, and these adjustments in predictions, right? These adjustments in how many units Nintendo was planning to build versus how many units they want to build to stay profitable has no effect on the success of the console. Now, yes, I do have my opinions on everything based on video game sales, on Nintendo Switch, right? And everything. And I'll share with you in a little bit. Let me just go ahead and go over this very quickly here because there's more information here. And so this is important, right? Down here, right? This is how much more Nintendo has sold in this particular time than prior consoles, right? So Nintendo has sold in the time that has been out, I would say 9 months. In the first 9 months, they've sold 29% more than the PS5, 30% more than the PS4, 34% more than the Wii, 45%, almost 50% more than the Nintendo Switch. PS2, 56, over the PS2, 56 more percent. No, 50, the PS2 holds the record right now for most sold systems. If Nintendo continues on this trend, they might pass the PS2 in the same amount of time that Nintendo Switch was out, right? The 8 years. Xbox, 61%, Xbox Series S, and so on, right? Even the Wii U, 302%. That's crazy. So, as you can tell here, Nintendo is still well ahead when it comes to how fast and how well the system is selling. Now, this is where I want to provide my personal opinion. This is me talking. This is not factual when it comes to news. This is just an opinion that I want to share with you. Is the Nintendo Switch 2 pricey? Yes, I believe it is. Are the games expensive? Yes, I believe they are. I do believe that Nintendo, if the system were at least $50 cheaper, and if the games were at least $10 to $15 cheaper, and Nintendo would kind of at least honor their tier-based pricing. So far, there's only one game that they've honored that with recently, but every other game has been $70 on Nintendo Switch 2. And so if they honor those tier pricing, I think things will be a lot better. Will it get better? I believe it will. I do believe that Nintendo will eventually release a Nintendo Switch lighter version, right? And so will it be a light? I don't know. We don't know, but we know that there might be a newer version that costs less that will help Nintendo Switch 2 sales push forward. We have to think that Nintendo Switch and the 150 million units are not just Nintendo Switch base systems alone. They are the Switch base model, the Lite, the OLED, and everything in between. Count it all together. So if Nintendo wants to do any major difference when it comes to breaking any records and sales and getting the same amount of players that we have on Switch right now, they have to release these updated versions. Not to mention, there are a lot of people, many people waiting for the Switch 2 Lite to drop because they don't want this bulky Nintendo Switch. They could care less about docking it. They came from the 3DS to Nintendo Switch Lite, and they are extremely happy with the mobility of the game. They will never dock it ever. So, again, it's just a matter of time when Nintendo does release a Switch 2 Lite. And for all of those of you waiting out there for this Switch 2 Lite, I can't wait. I cannot wait for you to be able to jump on Switch 2 and enjoy these amazing games. All right, my friends, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, leave your comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Never give up and journey on. Peace.